Hey class, I just wanted to go over essay 3 a little bit so that you feel confident going forward in writing this essay. Um, there are student examples, but besides student examples, I also want to kind of discuss it. So, right, you just click right here on the link and it brings you to it. So this essay is inspired from the memoir that we read, right? So we have been reading and discussing Born a Crime. You are going to create an argument based on or inspired by Born a Crime. This assignment will be a 1,400 to 1,700 word essay where you demonstrate your ability to integrate outside sources. So up to this point, you haven't had to find outside sources. But now going forward, you will be finding some outside sources. You also are free to use the sources that we have read in class for this assignment that match the argument if you choose an argument that kind of fits with it. So the due dates, which can change based on class. So you're going to choose one prompt, only one. So you're not going to combine a whole bunch of prompts, okay? For the first prompt, this memoir spends a good deal of time establishing the connection and integration of Christianity and the original religious cultural practices from pre-colonization. So you're going to develop an argument exploring something about religion or colonization and, or a combination of the two in the country and region of your choice. So it doesn't have to be about Christianity. I've had students in the past write about Muslims moving into like Northern Africa. You can talk about America. I've had students talk about conquistadors in South America and Mexico. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about this, but you do need to have some form of argument, right? So make sure that your stance in it is it's clear. So it could be something more modern, something older. You could talk about like Puerto Rico, right? And where it stands as not fully immersed in the United States or something of that nature too. 2, Chapter 15, Go Hitler, right, explores the ways in which different countries view trauma and horrific events. So depending on the country one is from, the idea of what is the worst traumatic event is determined. So you're going to develop an argument about a specific traumatic event in which you establish how it is viewed on an international scale versus through the eyes of the United States. So I have had students write arguments about the Holocaust. I've had students talk about the incidences that happened in Cambodia. I had students also talk about the Vietnam War from the stance of like the Vietnamese versus the Americans. So there are a lot of different traumatic events that you can explore. It doesn't have to be even the ones I just listed. 3, this memoir spends a great deal of time examining Noah's identity, right? So you're going to establish some sort of argument about the way humans create their identity, be it through culture, money, race, religion, geography, etc. You don't necessarily have to focus on all of those elements. You can choose elements that you're more interested in focusing in or that your research focuses on. 4, Chameleon, right? So chapter 4 was called Chameleon, and it explores language and how that's how he integrated into a lot of things or a lot of groups. So you're going to establish an argument about language. I've had students talk about ESL. I've had students talk about being bilingual. I've had students talk about living in a different area, speaking a different language. There's so many directions that you can go with that. 5, much of Noah's success can be connected back to his maverick or kind of rule breaking, right, mother and the education that he was provided with early on. So establish an argument about education and or opportunity. Explore how opportunity, support, and education greatly impacts a person's life. And then 6, you can choose a different topic that I haven't mentioned, but you need to email me if you're going to choose a different topic just to make sure that you're on the right track and that you're really confident with what you're going for. So you can see, though they do connect with the memoir, and you could mention the memoir in your intro and conclusion maybe, you don't want to only rely on the memoir because the memoir is very much pathos, right? It's a lot of anecdotal data. We want to be providing some logos, some factual data, some good outside research, right? That's solid. So, and you can see how some of the articles would work with some of these prompts that I've assigned throughout the semester so far. All right, so the key things here, or key requirements: you must have a fully developed thesis. Be sure to give enough context, right, in your intro that it makes sense what you're going to be talking about, especially because we're all talking about different things. Ensure your body paragraphs provide strong analysis and explanation of the quotes from sources to discuss the research. Be sure you're citing everything correctly, okay? Be sure your introductory sentences transition smoothly and work to introduce each paragraph well. You're going to draft a good conclusion, right? Memorable, shed some insights, not only just summarizing. Some sort of title that's not essay 3. You need a counter argument, and for this you need to be careful because you don't want your you want it to be clear that it's a counter argument and that it's not just you being wishy-washy, right? And that the way that you do that is through transitions. So you don't want to say, in addition, blah, 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 because in addition is going to make it seem like you are just continuing on with another point. You want to use countering transitions such as in contrast, on the other hand, however, but, etc. You need to have 3 outside sources, okay? You need to write in an appropriate college level tone. Third person, no I, me, mine's, nothing. And no yous, which is second person. You should not have that in your writing at this point. Write with clarity and precision. Read your writing out loud. Take it to the Academic Success Center so that you can get tutor help if you have been seeing that you have consistent issues that are being repeated. Adhere to MLA format, and the essay is 1,400 to 1,700 words. So let me know if you have any questions or concerns, but remember, it's not only about the memoir. You are more so creating a argumentative research paper that is inspired from the memoir, okay?